Hello and greetings. Good morning, everybody. I'm Julie Berry. I'm the Senior Planner for Arts and Culture with the city, and you are here with us today at Ode to Charlotte Forten and Other Black Stories from Salem's History. So thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you to the Human Rights Coalition for putting this project together, and to History Alive for their collaboration as well. Without further ado, I would very much like to welcome to the stage Ms. Charlotte Forten Grimke herself.
In Florida today, the roses blow, and breath of orange blossoms fills the air. In blooming thickets by a brook I know, the mockingbird is pouring forth his rich song, thrilling the charmed listener's heart. In deeper woods, the fair pink lily grows. Pale as the windflower, she droops apart, or glowing with the blushes of the rose. From the dark pool, she lifts her lovely head, a radiant presence mid the woodland gloom. While smiling on her from their mossy bed, sweet purple violets in beauty bloom. Mid their dark shining leaves, magnolias gleam, white as the snows that o'er our fields extend. And oleander trees beside a stream, or laden with their rosy blossoms bend. O'er hedge and bank and bush the jasmine flings its graceful golden leaves with lavish hand. To boughs of ancient oaks the gray moss clings, its long, weird tresses by the soft breeze fanned. How sweet to linger in the shaded bowers, how sweet to catch gleams of the blue, blue sky, to dream away the softly gliding hours, as on the fragrant, flower-sown earth we lie. Alas, it may not be, our lot is cast. In bleaker climes, 'neath duller skies we stray, still haunted by bright visions of the past. Sweet, sweet to be in Florida today. You're all too kind. That poem was, of course, about Florida, a time where I spent many fond hours, but I was, of course, educated here in Salem. I attended Salem Normal School, the first Black graduate of Salem Normal School, and I became a teacher. I, of course, was born a free woman in Philadelphia, was very blessed and lucky to be so, and traveled here to attend school. As mentioned, I did attend Salem Normal School, and after graduating, went on to teach as many as I could. First children, and then free Black men on the South Carolina Sea Islands. Salem holds a great place to my heart. I wrote at length about how I enjoyed walks by the sea, how I enjoyed meeting with other abolitionists. I was an active member of the Salem Female Anti-Slavery Society and was dear friends with the Remen family, who was, of course, very active in Hamilton Hall, which I hear is still in operation. I was dear friends with them, and so along with the Remens, I was integral in bringing abolitionists of all kinds to Salem at the Lyceum Hall, which I hear is a seafood restaurant these days, but I'm glad that the building is still in use and in operation. Several abolitionists that I brought to Salem included Frederick Douglass, William Lloyd Garrison, and many, many more. So Salem was a dear place to me. You can find many of my journals and diaries where I wrote about it often, but I'm very grateful to be here today and to share a bit of myself and some time with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Alphonse Wright. I'm the chair of the Human Rights Coalition. It's funny you mentioned your journals. If you don't mind, I'd like to read an excerpt or two from your journal. May 25th, 1854. Did not intend to write this evening, but have just heard of something that is worth reckoning. Something which must ever rouse in the mind of every true friend of liberty and humanity. Feelings of the deepest indignation and sorrow. Another fugitive, Anthony Burns, from bondage has been arrested, a poor man, who for 2 short months has trod the soil and breathed the air of the old Bay State. Was arrested like a criminal in the streets of her capital. It is now kept strictly guarded. A double police force is required. The military are in readiness, and all this is done to prevent a man whom God has created in his own image, from regaining that freedom with which he, in common with every human being, is endowed. I can only hope and pray most earnestly that Boston will not again disgrace herself by sending him back to a bondage worse than death, or rather that she will redeem herself from the disgrace which his arrest alone has brought upon her. June 2nd, 1854. Our worst fears are realized. The decision was against poor Burns, and he has been sent back to a bondage worse, 1,000 times worse, than death. Even an attempt at rescue was utterly impossible. The prisoner was completely surrounded by soldiers with bayonets fixed, a cannon loaded, ready to be fired at the slightest sign. Today, Massachusetts has again been disgraced. Again, she has shewed her submission to the slave power, and oh, with what deep sorrow do we think of what will doubtless be the fate of that poor man when he is again consigned to the horrors of slavery. With that scorn must that government be regarded, which cowardly assembles thousands of soldiers to satisfy the demands of slaveholders, to deprive of his freedom a man created in God's own image, whose sole offense is the color of his skin. And if resistance is offered to this outrage, these soldiers are to shoot down American citizens without mercy, and this by the express orders of a government which proudly boasts of being the freest in the world. This on the very soil where the Revolution of 1776 began. In sight of the battlefield where thousands of brave men fought and died in opposing British tyranny, which was nothing compared to the American oppression today. In looking over my diary, I perceived that I did not mention that there was on the Friday night after the man's arrest, an attempt made to rescue him. But although it failed, on account of there not being men enough engaged in it, all honor should be given to those who bravely made the attempt. I can write no more. A cloud seems hanging over me, over all our persecuted race, which nothing can dispel. So I wanted to talk about the legacy of Charlotte Forten, and while I was trying to think of something to write, I came across these passages. And it strikes me odd that in 170 years since she wrote this, slavery is still a thing in this country. In fact, it is enshrined in our Constitution. So her abolitionist work is still ongoing. I also wanted to point out the dichotomy of Boston. We pride ourselves on being the liberal North, on being open and free-minded and welcoming. I was born in Boston. I was 3 years old when the busing crisis started, and I know some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was 17 when it ended. Yeah. 74 to 88. That's a long time to resist integration for a place that's enlightened. So I'm sorry, Charlotte, your work is not done, and we will continue the fight. We must honor those engaged in the fight. We must support those engaged in the fight. Charlotte, though she was too modest to mention this, was a volunteer nurse for the Massachusetts 54th during the Civil War, providing literal succor to those fighting on the front lines. We can do no less. We must continue your legacy of fighting for abolition, fighting for equality. And we cannot rest on our laurels because we live in the free, liberal North. I'm not the first to say it, and I won't be the last to say it, but ask some of our great sports icons what they think about Boston. More than one, probably more than 5, more than 10, have said Boston is the most racist city they've ever played in, ever lived in. We can't hide in the shadow of the enlightenment of Harvard or MIT. We need to own it. And the sooner we own it, the sooner we can fix it. We have to air it out like any other infection and treat it. We'll keep working, Charlotte. I'm sorry we haven't gotten there yet. And I'd like to invite Michael Corley to come up and speak.
Thank you, Alphonse. Good morning. My name is Michael Corley. I work for the office of Mayor Dominic Pangallo. Thank you for being here today. It really means a lot to me. So the journey of getting to know Charlotte Forten has been so impactful and really shows the importance of representation. So a little bit about myself. I moved up here from Florida 4 years ago to attend Salem State University, which is where I first learned about Charlotte Forten and her connection. I took this class. All freshmen at Salem State have to take a first-year seminar, so I signed up for one that was titled Salem by the Land and Sea. So while I thought this would just be a great way to walk the streets of Salem, sail on a boat outside of the harbor, this class turned into something much more. My professor, Professor Lucinda Damon-Bach, had us read Charlotte Forten's journal entries and visit all the different spots in Salem where she studied, kind of her long walks by the ocean, and we visited the old site of the Salem Normal School. So that's really when I first learned about who she was and then what she went on to do. So that was a very impactful experience. My time at Salem State as a whole was super impactful. It was actually where I had my first black teacher, if you can believe it or not. Growing up in Florida, like I said, I never really had that representation, and it wasn't until my freshman year when I took a media literacy class where I had my first black teacher, educator. So throughout the years at Salem State, I got more and more involved, but Charlotte Forten's story really stuck with me. Her advocacy, her legacy of civic engagement, and it was during my junior year at Salem State that the university made the decision to rename the central campus after Nancy Harrington. And that got me thinking, how do we honor and choose the way we recognize people who have made impacts in our community? So being the person I am, I was very familiar with the campus. I was a tour guide. I made a list of all the spaces on campus, from the buildings, Meyer Hall, the George Ellison Campus Center, to the quads, the James McEwen quad, and I just simply categorized it. I looked into who they were named after, who these people were, and about 90% of them were named after white men, typically people who are historical, Nathaniel Bowditch. The remaining portion were named after white women who had donated to the university. And the two spaces that were named after people of color happened to be rooms. So the Charlotte Forten Legacy Room and the Martin Luther King Room. And while that's good to see, at least we have two rooms. Unless you're a student like me who's super involved, and you go to meetings and stuff, you're never really going to go into these conference rooms. So we all know who Nathaniel Bowditch is and who George Ellison is, and kind of more recent donors who have contributed a lot to the university. Really, we don't know a lot of students didn't know who Charlotte Forten was. So I started to go through this process of getting the university to rename a building after Charlotte Forten, and just with kind of how administration works at the time, it really went nowhere. So I waited a year, and it was in my last semester that I realized I don't want to leave Salem State without doing the best I can to honor Charlotte Forten. So being the journalism student I was, I wrote a letter to the editor and outlined exactly what I said, how our campus has no spaces, no physical buildings outside of rooms named after people of color. And I pretty much demanded with the university administration and the board of trustees that they reconsider renaming a building on campus after Charlotte Forten and create a space where students can learn about who she was, why she came to Salem, and what she did when she left here. Within a day of that letter being published, President Keenan, along with the chair of the Board of Trustees, reached out to me. At the time, I was the president of our Student Government Association, so I think that kind of helped. And within 4 months, both the President Executive Council and the Board of Trustees voted to rename our Viking Hall, which is our newest building on campus, after Charlotte Forten. So I think it's, some people might think that's like a little gesture, but for a student who's attending Salem State, which is soon to be a Hispanic serving institution and minority serving institution. I think little gestures like that really mean a lot. Not only does it add that representation, it kind of builds that knowledge, and it also does Charlotte Forten, her legacy, kind of helps it live up to that justice. So while this was all going on, started to get more involved with the city, and Julie Berry had reached out to me, and the city was forming this working group to bring a statue of Charlotte Forten down to the new Charlotte Forten Park. And I'm so excited to have been involved with that process, and I really think it's a testament to that shows kind of how our community can come together and uplift people who have lived here, who have made history, and whose stories aren't told. Because we all know about the history of Salem, but we can all imagine whose stories aren't being told and what we can do to make sure those stories are told. So once again, thank you for being here, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate it. I kind of put him on the spot today, so I appreciate it very much. So Gwendolyn Roseman, Professor Emeritus from Salem State University, was going to be here today to share a little bit about Charlotte and her voice, as well as some other stories from Salem's history, other Black stories from Salem history. Unfortunately, she is quite ill and is not able to join us today. But I do have a statement that she wanted me to read on her behalf, so I apologize. It's brief, it's not very long. But she just wanted to say that 175 or so years after Charlotte's time in Salem, her demand for justice and freedom from oppression remains as necessary as when she walked the streets of Salem. Be Charlotte's voice. Have her courage in 2024 and forward. So that's what Gwen would like to share with you all, and thank you for being here. Just really briefly, to wrap up on Michael's comments about the statue, we are very excited that throughout a robust community input process, if you haven't been privy to that information, we are going to be installing a bronze statue, life-size bronze statue in the likeness of Charlotte at Charlotte Forten Park this September. So she'll be installed. The artist was here in February doing some community input to making sure that her facial features were right and what sort of expression she should have, and which of her writings should be incorporated into the sculpture itself. We did really great community input at the Y, at the CLC, here during the flag raising, the Peabody Essex Museum. We got a lot of community feedback on those elements, and so now the artist is digging in her studio and creating Charlotte for us so that we'll have her here in our city as a mouthpiece for those stories in conjunction with signage that will actually tell and elevate about her legacy and how we still need to carry that legacy forward. The fight is not over, that we need to keep continuing that legacy here within Salem. So thank you guys all so much for being here. I'd like to welcome Charlotte back to close us out.
Thank you. So I'm sure we're all aware of the patriotic song, Columbia, Gem of the Ocean. Yes? I'm so glad. Well, I have written a parody of this song because I do not believe it to be accurate and truthful into what our country is. It is a patriotic song that speaks of freedom, but we all know that not all are free yet. So I've rewritten the lyrics to the song, and I hope you'll indulge me. Forgive me, I am a bit nervous. But this is a parody of Columbia, Gem of the Ocean that I wrote. My country, oh, when wilt thou triumph over slavery, that terrible sin? Till freed from this curse thou canst never hope blessing from heaven to win. Oh, when shall each child of our Father, whatever his nation or hue, be protected throughout thy dominions, neath the folds of the red, white, and blue? Neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. Neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. Be protected throughout thy dominions, neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. If thou, Columbia, my country, were truly the home of the free, how gladly the hearts of thy children would offer thy homage to thee. Thy mandates would make tyrants tremble, if liberty's form stood in view, and summon brave men to assemble, 'neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. 'Neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. 'Neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. And summon brave men to assemble, 'neath the folds of the red, white, and blue. Should war rage its wide desolation, and threaten the land to deform, we'd rally the men of the nation, and laugh at the threatening storm. With freedom and hope and brave ardor, we'd battle the miscreant crew, and proudly aloft raise our banners, with cheers for the red, white, and blue. With cheers for the red, white, and blue. With cheers for the red, white, and blue. And proudly aloft raise our banners, with cheers for the red, white, and blue. Thank you very much.
So now we need to add singer to your long list of accolades. Thank you, Charlotte. Speaking further on the legacy of Charlotte Forten, I am ashamed to say I did not know who you were before I moved to Salem. Think about that. Think about the impact that this woman has had on history. And in near 50 years, I did not know who she was until I moved here. That just further proves our need for education of Black Americans. Black history is American history. And as part of your legacy, we need to continue that education of people. It's who we are, who we were, because by looking at our past, we know who we can become. If we don't have the examples of abolitionist, teacher, nurse, singer, well, we have a lot of singers, which is unfortunate because we get pigeonholed into these things because they've been done before. Until something is done, people don't think it's possible. So until 2008, a Black president was not possible because it had never been done before. And once it exists in reality, it becomes possible in the minds of the populace. So if we have more Black education on figures, events, inventions, triumphs, we know more is possible for us. And we know it's possible within ourselves. We know it's possible. But we keep getting pushback from society because they haven't seen it, so they don't think it can be done. And so we have to fight what we know against what the outside believes. And unfortunately, the state of education in general in this country is pretty sorry at this point. So imagine when you get into something specific, like Black history, which is being outlawed in some states. Actually, it is outlawed in some states now. Being removed from college campuses because it's dangerous. Because if people know what we can do, if people know that we have no limits, then we might be closer to equality. We can't have that, can we? Anyway, enough of the fire and brimstone. This will be the conclusion of this portion of the event. There is another exhibit upstairs by the Juneteenth Association. It's Black Women of the Suffrage Movement. I encourage you all to go upstairs and look at that. And then at about 12 o'clock, Greg Coles will be here doing a drum circle and a little bit of history on Black music. So I encourage you to stick around for that, and maybe talk with each other, and we'll learn about our neighbors, we'll learn about the people next to us, and when we do, a little bit more becomes possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alphonse, and thank you all for being here. Do please peruse the exhibition. Speaking on that educational point, here among us we have idea boards from all of our Salem public schools where children in all grades and all of the schools were given different thought prompts about Charlotte Forten and have responded to those. So there's a lot of fun and interesting projects here, so please feel free to explore those. This portion is ending a little bit early because we are down a speaker, so sorry about that, but at least you have time to explore the exhibitions and hang out with each other. Yes?
I have a question. I'm new to town, so I was just wondering, is there somewhere that we can buy a copy of Charlotte's journals? Is that published for?
Yes, there are. You can get, I do think that there are bound versions of her journals and things. There's also some on our website that you can peruse.
Okay.
So if you go to the Charlotte Forten website, we have links to her journal, her diaries, writings about her, articles that she wrote, articles written about her. So there is a wealth of knowledge on our website as well.
Cool,
Yeah.
thank you.
Of course. Excellent. So go forth, enjoy, explore, learn.
Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon now. I'm Alphonse Wright from the Salem Human Rights Coalition. We're here today at Old Town Hall to honor Charlotte Forten Grimke and other Black leaders from history.
Happy Black History Month. We're celebrating an ode to Charlotte Forten here today at Old Town Hall. I want to express my gratitude to Alphonse Wright, to History Alive, Michael Corley from my office, North Shore Juneteenth Association, the Human Rights Coalition of Salem, everybody who's made this special event possible today. You know, as Alphonse said in his remarks this morning, Black history is American history. I'm so proud and thrilled that we're able to host this event here, and that we're also able to involve the Salem Public Schools in this day. Some of the artwork downstairs from the students telling the stories and reacting to the history of Charlotte Forten, her life, her legacy, and all of her contributions, both to Salem, to our Commonwealth, and to our country. So, happy Black History Month.
Good afternoon, this is Greg Coles. I'm here to talk about the role of the djembe in community making, community building, identity development, ultimately power. So community, identity, power. I was just part of an exhibit as we rise over at the Peabody Essex Museum to do the same talk.
I'd like to chat with you a little bit about this drum because it's very much central to African community making, African identity development, and as for any African individual, power. This drum is, it's been a central part of African identity for quite some time. As soon as blacksmithing was popular in Africa, this mineral ring was added. But this is a beautiful, beautiful balance of flora and fauna. The top of it is made of a goat skin. The body of it is hollowed out from a tree trunk. It takes about 2 weeks to make this drum. And it was hollowed out and then shaped, and it's usually carved by each individual making a djembe. So a djembe still is an individual work of art. But the name of the drum is significant. Djembe and Bambara, Anke J, gather the people. Anke Be, in peace. So gather the people peacefully. Because when you gather them around the djembe, what you're going to get are a bunch of rhythms. And those rhythms give energy to dances. And those dances tell stories about what it means to be African, from the cradle to the grave and beyond. So there's something called the African life cycle, and it starts with a basic premise. Once you're out, you're in for life. When you're in Africa, you don't wonder where you belong, because you belong everywhere. No entrance exams, no dues, no fees, no proving yourself worthy of being part of some group. You're in for life. But that's a basic tenet of agrarian culture anyway, because all of your children are a labor force. So everybody's working on the survival of the individual family and community. It's always together. Everyone's always connected. So you begin with birth, and then you give the name of a child, or you give the name to a child of someone who's made an outstanding community contribution. That's a person who is transcended. So we get transcendence in that giving back. The parents have their best hopes realized in having a child, a new part of the labor force. Right? Every child is a gift. You have the best dancers in the community come out and celebrate. You have the best examples of community service who are going to be honored in the naming of another child. So it all comes together beautifully. And the djembe is central in bringing all those rhythms, all of those dances, all of those stories into the individual construct, into the family construct, and then into the greater community construct. But for transatlantic Africans, those who were brought over the Atlantic into the Americas, this drum was not present for over 100 years. Now there's a saying, how can we sing our song in our captor's land? That for me is kind of a question that is going to lead to lots and lots of research on my part. Because I'd like to know how the Africans in the American context, without this drum, persisted in rhythm. Because Africans believe that all of life has rhythm. And the big word for today is Foli, F-O-L-I. Will you say that with me? Foli? Foli. All Africans believe that all of life has rhythm. And guess what? They're right. We have a circadian rhythm inside of us that if it isn't matched to the rising and setting of the sun, we can be out of sorts for quite some time. You know, I know all of you have a couple nickels to rub together, and you can travel, go into a different time zone, and then you have a little bit of a lag. There's an adjustment period where your body has to adjust. It's all about rhythm. So what the Africans have done over hundreds of years is told these stories. But this one is a particularly important story. This rhythm calls other rhythms. It goes like this. That rhythm calls lamba. That rhythm calls the harvest dance. That rhythm calls the beautiful dance called Sunu. Now, before we talk about Sunu, any of you ever done the cha-cha slide? Any of you do the cha-cha slide before? The wobble? Cupid shuffle? Yeah. So you usually get into those dances at weddings, and Sunu is a very popular wedding dance. So the whole idea is you do these little diddlies, you have a lot of fun, and then you want to do them over again. So the big question is not whether or not our families are going to get together as a function of marriage, but are you any fun? Can you dance? That's the whole thing. It's a beautiful thing. Sunu. So we keep having this rhythm. As I mentioned earlier, this drum was not allowed to come across the Atlantic, no personal effects. The first djembe to reach the Americas was in 1735, and it was from Ghana. And that djembe is in the National Museum in London, that very first djembe. But as you can imagine, without this drum, Africans were finding rhythm anywhere they could find it. You know, in their feet, and slapping their knees, forks, anything to get these rhythms out. So the Africans became very intentional about rhythm. And it created a nice little container, a rhythmic container. Here's my theory. You're sitting on the couch and your feet are up, looking at your toes, and a movie, eating popcorn, and you hear this. What does that mean? Someone's knocking at the door, trying to get your attention, right? So the Africans are aware of this. So they take this rhythm. And now it almost doesn't make sense. But they put the knock at the end of that break. Doesn't really make sense until you repeat it. So now we have a container that has become something that can hold the Latin clave. Can you do that with me? Right. Beautiful. Keep going. So now you have something that's going to stay in the American context that has an African root with Latin fruit, but it's the same tree. And so the assignment for the timbale player is to play the clave, the conga, all that's going on, and then this. So you wind up with all these rhythms, polyrhythms, all trying to tell the story, more or less to keep the story alive, to keep it going, so that in the American context, it wouldn't matter whether that rhythm is spread out over 100 different types of drums, it's not gonna get lost again. Do you see what I mean? It's gonna stay in the Americas, in all of the countries where Africans were bringing the rhythms originally on the djembe. They've been spread out. So more tonal rhythms, more slaps and basses and all this sort of stuff. So many backbeats out of African rhythms. All right, is that clear? As much? All right. So the djembe, anke je, anke be, gather the people peacefully. Play rhythms that give energy to the dances. Those dances that tell stories of what it means to be African. The first djembe that was played in an official presentation or celebration was in 1741. There were black elections and white elections at this time, and there was a governor elected in Connecticut. And there was a painting of a djembe. What's that djembe doing there? 1741, had to be there beforehand. That fairy djembe, 1735 from Ghana. So I'd just like to thank you for your time, your energy, and your attention, and putting your hands together for what is called the clave. So would you do this clave with me again? while you were playing the clave, I was playing a little bit of lamba, a little bit of sunu, a little bit of kuku. Sofa, which is the hunter-warrior dance, is also in that family. And very interesting about Sofa, the hunter-warrior dance. If you've ever seen like Gladys Knight and the Pips, the guys behind them, the Pips, they're doing Sofa moves. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. They're doing Sofa moves because the Sofa, the hunters and warriors are such high status people. But consider this. You have hunters, people who feed the community, be the same group that protects the community. Can you imagine if the military resources on this planet were used to actually feed people, to harvest fresh water, to move things around the planet that need to be moved so that we could be, in good shape, in better health? We have the resources. We've split those roles, unfortunately. So those who feed us are not the same as those who protect us. It would be great if they were brought back together. So I think the Africans have some very important approaches to community making, to sustaining a community, to validating the importance of an individual. Once you're out, you're in for life. Also, how to nurture and sustain families. That was one of our greatest contributions in the making of this nation. It's very interesting. I just want to make sure that we get that narrative right, that people of African descent are incredibly resourceful in the home, in the making of strong individuals, strong families, and strong communities. And that's what this drum has been helping Africans do for centuries. Is that as clear as mud? All right. How we do, Alphonse?
That's great. I know something. I hope everybody else did. A lot more than I knew before I came up here. Did you want to play something? The time is yours. Do what you want. I mean, that was more than I...
Okay, so how much time do we have?
What time do we close up here? Wait, we have time. 10, 15 more minutes. Thank you, Julie. I was looking for it. I didn't see you back there.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is a little bit of pantomime with you. All right? So if we can gather you a little more, if we can anke bay you a little, anke jay you a little bit. Beautiful. All right. So, now, anyone ever call you cuckoo? Be honest. Anybody ever call you cuckoo? Yes. Anybody ever say you were a nut? Yes. So a cuckoo is literally a West African nut. No. And as such, it's a symbol of the harvest. Now, the harvest is a beautiful, beautiful experience for those in agrarian culture. Why? Because you could see the entire community working on behalf of the community. In modernity, we tend to be siloed. You know, we're working from home now. A little less collaboration, a little less, in-person experiences. And the site community is telling us that it is not as healthy for us. We need to be connected. And the harvest is a great showing of kind of every individual's contribution to the community. So the harvest dance is a very, very important dance. Cool. Now, I start off with the break. And then I go into the rhythm. As soon as I finish the break, it's like saying for a dancer, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you go into it. Are you guys ready? You want to do some cuckoo moves? Yeah, let's do a little. So, what I want you to do is put your left hand on your hip. All right. Kind of sassy. And then I want you to reach up, like you're picking something. And then I want you to put it in your basket. And do the other side. Put it in. Step out, pick it up, put it in, step out, put it in. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Hey, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Beautiful. Okay, you guys did a great job on that part. So now, step on your right foot, hands go out. On your left foot, hands go in. Right foot, hands go out. Left foot, hands go in. Oh, nice job. So now, what you're doing is you're taking the stuff that you just harvested and you're sharing it. All right? So we have pick, and share. Pick, and share. Touch right, touch left, step through. Touch right, touch left, step through. Okay, so some people like to do this. We could do that. We're gonna go easy, we're gonna go easy. So, the drummer would play, nice job. Keep it going. All right. So now, let's do that. Let's do that with the drums. All right. Nice job, Mr. Mayor. All right. You know, so this is another thing about the African culture. From the least to the greatest, the youngest to the oldest, everybody's present. Everybody's there. So we tend to kind of segment ourselves a little bit by age, education level, what we do for work, that sort of stuff. The whole community out there together is still an important theme amongst black and brown people. And you're like, why do you have to have everybody at a freaking fiesta? So that the abuela can see her grandchildren. If I go to a fete or a fiesta, I'm always going to dance with the oldest woman there. Because I know I'm touching everybody if I do that. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's this focus on youth and pleasure, amassing a fortune, and living alone in some big place in a remote whatever, an island, mansion, whatever. And well, the psych community is telling us that it's just not good for us. You know, so when you are abundant in community and friends and family, your life is blessed. Do you see what I mean from an African standpoint? So you want to do a greeting, and you would say, Somogobadi. That's like, not just how are you, but how is everything in your life. And you would say, Torasitula. Now, can you say Torasitula? If that were true for you, that would mean that you, your family, all your animals, your land, all your possessions, there's no evil anywhere. And that's what you want to be able to say. But you want to know it. You know, you don't want to be worried all the time and stressed out and isolated, failing alone, drinking, doing different things that are harmful, blah, blah, blah. If you do any of those things, I'm not trying to judge you. Because I do those things. So the whole idea, though, is to, if I could leave any message, especially as it relates to the djembe, Anke J, Anke B. Gather the people in your life so that you can have peace. You need people. Don't be isolating yourselves. You need people. This connection is absolutely essential to being a strong individual, knowing that you're part of a family and part of a greater community. So once you're out, know that you're in for life. Don't wander around wondering whether you belong. Of course you do. Do you see what I mean? All right, so let's practice our move. Pick, and share. All right? So now, get it, Alfonso. It's great, man. So, remember, okay, relax. Now let me play. You ready? Yeah. All right. Let's go. Hit, can dance can last. And if you play for a class, playing a djembe, you can be playing for an hour, hour and a half. So energy, that's where I'm getting at. Energy, energy, energy. There are only two things that I know of that if you use them, you get more of the same. One is energy. If you use energy, you get more energy. And if you use wisdom, you get more wisdom. So, but it's also true that if you don't use energy, even the energy you have is going to drain out of you. You see what I mean? And if you are unwise, you become more and more unwise. So the interesting thing is that energy and wisdom are very much alike. So when you have this much energy, you want to make sure you're using it for a good reason. You get people fired up. Get them fired up for a good reason. You know, don't take all that energy and then become destructive with it. So, you know, like Martin Luther King said, if you have power, but you don't have love, you can be very destructive. But if you have love, but you don't have power, you're going to be ineffective. So there has to be a balance. You see what I mean? To take that energy and turn it into something constructive. So that's what we're trying to do with the djembe. All right. Can we do that move one more time? You guys ready over there? Okay, good. All right, here we go. Excuse me, I'm clearing my voice because I want to sing. But I want to sing with you. I want to sing with you. So, you want to practice first? Yes. Okay. Welcome to the Town Hall Choir. So, let's lift our voices and sing this. Had it. Let's do it again. When I do this with the little kids in school, they're like, Mr. Coles, can we sing that song? Okay, would you do me a favor? Would you just move to your right a little bit? Okay, let's just pretend she just got here. We know she's been here the whole time, but let's just pretend that she just got here. So when we're drumming with the kids in school, we want to make sure that they understand what it means to be a welcoming community. Now this is critical because some of the kids, when they come late, they kind of look forward to it because they know they're going to get this welcome. This is a transformative welcome. I want you to say it with me. 2 words you say after I say to this lovely person over here. Okay? All right. Now just put some force into it. Join in. Join in. Feel free.
Feel free.
Have fun.
Have fun.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Enjoy yourself.
Enjoy yourself.
Nice. Now, isn't that a nice way to be a welcoming community?
Yes.
Yeah. So when the young kids hear that, they're like, I'm saying that? And then the people who are waiting to join the circle, they're like, I'm hearing that? Is that true? Do they really welcome me here? And, you know, by the time then they go in and have a seat. But then they say it over and over and over to different people. You see what I mean? So a community that has difficulty welcoming new people is going to die. I mean, I don't mean to be negative, but even population growth is, births, things like that. That's growing your community. There are countries paying people to have children now, or to move to them, because the populations are shrinking. I'm not sure if you understand what's going on, but the idea is, who is going to be the next most important person in your community? It could be the person that just got there. That could be a contributor, you just have no idea what they could do. But because you were a welcoming community, now you have a resource that could make a difference, a huge difference in your community. Are you following me? Yeah, so this whole business of once you're out, you're in for life, and being a welcoming community, they go together clearly, right? So, yeah. So the kids love to hear that. All right, you ready to do the Sulu song again? Yeah. Now put your heart into it. Wasn't that pretty?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So songs, rhythms, dances, clothing, food, core values, all these things help people to create cultures, patterns, things that they enjoy that give individuals this sense of belonging and identity and ultimately power, So that's what the transatlantic African had to do under the most difficult of circumstances, and why I feel the black and brown people that have pressed through and have made all these outstanding contributions are extraordinary, especially under the circumstances. To be able to reconfigure the African identity, to stay in these large gatherings, and even still, black people have these huge family reunions. They happen all around the country. In my family, they happen every 2 years. We have to rent out an entire hotel in a major city and go there and see each other and be family. Disconnected, spread out, but still family, Gather the people in peace, My mother, before she passed, she was like, you kids, stay together. And any black person is going to say to their family, stay together. Because there's so many threats to pull the family apart under the, both system. But gather the people peacefully. Have I done anything to improve your sense of needing to be connected?
Yes.
And welcoming others?
Yes.
And seeing the value of the individual?
Yes.
And if even one person improves even a little bit, the entire community is benefited. I am because we are. You see what I mean? All right. Now, one Sunu move, and you're going to see that this is a sweet dance. Now, just gently now, because you don't want to do anything, too rough. Because there's some serious rough dances that require a lot of energy. But Sunu is the one dance you can dance until you're 114. You know how I know that? Because when I was in Africa, I danced with a woman who was 114 dancing Sunu. Yep. Because it doesn't really require, what it requires is that you be cool. All right. So we're going. This man's got some rhythm. Check him out. Like you're not hurrying. All right. So when I go step. All right, let's practice. You're gonna step on the right, touch with your left, and lift your left hand a little bit. You done? Right. All right. So I'm gonna say you done? Can you get your shoulders into it? Okay, beautiful. You look great. All right. So you're going hello. Okay, wait, stay right there. We would love to welcome you. Join in. Feel free. Have fun. No pressure. Enjoy yourself. So we've been dying to practice that one. On a real live new contributor. All right. Beautiful. Okay, so we're doing Sunu. Why don't you get right in the center where all the love is, and then you can look around and see what's going on. Do you realize when people normally join a group, they kind of try to get on the periphery, you know what I mean, on the outside? But the love is in the center. Give everybody a chance. Don't isolate yourself. Try to get in there, you know what I mean? Mix it up with people. You may find someone with a similar story or with one that is just a little bit beyond yours so that you get some perspective. And that is the reason the young and the old and everybody gets out there, because all that wisdom is there and it's available. From the youngest to the oldest, and there's all that sharing, all those stories. Okay, now, do you remember?
Yes.
Okay, solamente 5 minutos, 5 minutes. All right, so we have step, 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 step. again, the djembe. Anke J, Anke B. Gather the people in peace. It's clear that this drum central in community making, identity development, from birth to death and beyond. Being born in Africa is so, so important because you're going to get all the love. You get carried on your mom's back for years, and she's working, doing all the things, and you're just attached. You see what I mean? Then you grow. And you get fed, and educated, and nurtured. And it's all about you, because you're just growing. And then you mature. Now, anybody see the movie Avatar? All right, what they were trying to pick up on is the relatedness of things, how things are connected. Animals are connected to, people, and trees to trees, and everybody, the whole God, everything is all connected. And that is the definition of maturity for the African. I see you. Because when you're growing, you just see yourself and your needs. You see what I mean? I need to be fed, you just expect it. I need to be clothed, you just expect it. I need to be educated, you just expect it. But maturity means I see you. And the relatedness of things. So then you're willing to share your life, blah, 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 become part of the family, blah, blah, blah. Born, grow, mature, and all things end. So you have to transition. The African has to be good at transitioning. And in this context, in the American context, I think we did a great job of transitioning. And when you transition, you just accept the death of something and the start of something else. And the hope is you make your contribution so that your name will be remembered in the community you want to serve. And it's really, really beautiful. Anybody see Coco? It's a movie about remembering. You see what I mean? So when you remember those who have gone on before you, you keep them alive. So, there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So, if anybody wants to learn more from Greg or participate in some of his classes, plug yourself, man. Plug yourself.
Yeah, Greg Cole's Dance and Drum. I have a website. I teach every day of the week. In particular, in my Salem studio, which is directly across from Wendy's, above a dais. I teach the djembe on Sundays at 3, and then a West African dance class Sundays at 4. You get to pay how much you want to pay per class by the way you buy it. So I don't say you have to cost this much. You just, like if you want to buy, a certain number of classes, you can get them all the way down to like $10 per class. Yeah. So the whole idea is, I'm happy with the amount of money I have. I know I just want to share the art, you know what I mean? So, but on my website, I have my class schedule. I'm a professor at Salem State. I do a number of school programs. School programs are crazy fun. I was at the Chelsea High School. It took 15 minutes for the 1,700 high schoolers to come into the auditorium to hear the story about the djembe. And I had 50 djembes set up. And I said, 50 of you, come on, drum with me right now. And they were running over there. And then oh my God, I was like, pop, 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 pop. They were pop, 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 pop. That place was electric. And then there was a grandmother of one of the students who got out and danced. And the principal, kind of like the mayor today, was out there drumming with us. I don't stay any place long if I can't get the leadership to join in. Because then I know there's a heart, the leader's heart is in it. You see what I mean? And then that goes right through the community. So thank you for that opportunity, Alfonso.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much.
Greg Coles, C-O-L-E-S, dance and drum. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you, everyone.